Welcome to the Explainer. Look, today we're speaking directly to the C-suite. So if you're a senior leader, this one is designed specifically for you. We're going to talk about why treating your company's data as a literal, measurable balance sheet asset isn't just some nice-to-have idea anymore. It is actually the only real path to sustained, organic growth in the 21st century. Bottom line, if you ignore treating your data like the asset it is, your organization is eventually going to become completely unmanageable.
Picture this for a second. Imagine you're sitting at your desk and you open a letter from an auditor that basically reads, "Hey, your most valuable asset? Yeah, it's completely unmanaged. You have zero strategic plans or oversight linked to it, and honestly, it poses a severe financial risk to your very survival." You'd be terrified, right? I mean, panic stations. Yet, believe it or not, this is exactly what's happening with corporate data today. Poor data management isn't just some annoying IT issue. It is a massive, multi-trillion-dollar hidden liability that is actively dragging down your bottom line through inefficiencies, missed opportunities, and huge regulatory risks.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our playbook for today. We'll cover the unfit data reality, cultivating executive data literacy, avoiding governance pitfalls, defeating organizational resistance, and finally, a phased approach to success.
So, Section 1, the unfit data reality. Let's face the truth here.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how Dr. Tom Redman puts it. He's incredibly blunt. He says, most companies are unfit for data. And this really highlights a critical executive failure. In way too many organizations, data oversight just gets pushed down to the lowest, least empowered levels, or it's just shoved over to the IT department to deal with. Assuming that your data is just going to miraculously work itself out without high-level leadership is a profound mistake. To put that into perspective, just consider the contrast in leadership styles. The old school way? That's the CEO who just accepts poor data. They literally budget for regulatory fines and excessive expenses, shrugging it off as the cost of doing business. But the new way? The modern CEO leads by example. This kind of leader demands data quality. They actively call out department heads when they try to take the easy way out, relying on those hidden, siloed, rogue spreadsheets instead of actually using governed enterprise systems. And here's the kicker. That shift in behavior alone has been proven to add tens of millions directly to the bottom line. It's a total game changer. Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds into cultivating executive data literacy. If data is actually going to drive your organizational strategy, well, you have to be literate in it. So here are some really concrete steps for executives to improve that literacy. First up, define specific data behavior targets so your team knows exactly what you expect from them. Second, start embedding little did-you-know facts about your data quality into your regular communications. It's a great way to build awareness. Third, actively require regular data quality updates in your management meetings. Make them tell you how it's going. And fourth, make data metrics a business-as-usual reporting item, right up there alongside your financials. Ultimately, you have to replace those old sloppy habits with new, structured behaviors. And this brilliantly illustrates an absolutely crucial habit for executives: separating duties. The folks handling project implementation, like your business sponsors, cannot, under any circumstances, be the exact same people auditing compliance to your governance policy. Why? Well, because a project sponsor who's sweating over a tight deadline is inevitably going to let governance fall by the wayside to get things done. It's just human nature. You must establish clear boundaries and independent oversight to ensure those data rules are actually being followed. All right, moving to Section 3, avoiding common governance pitfalls. Let's talk about the mistakes that derail these programs early on. Now, this is perhaps the single most common question executives ask. Hey, can we just buy a governance tool to fix our data? The answer? An emphatic absolutely not. Buying a shiny new software tool before you actually have an organizational strategy in place is a fundamental error. Let me be clear. Technology without an operational model will fail every single time, no question. So here are the specific red flags you really need to watch out for. First, treating governance as an IT project. Data is a business asset. It is not an IT asset. Second, hiring a single data governance person and expecting them to be this magical fix-all, while leadership just washes their hands and walks away. Third, allowing your data scientists or analytics teams to just bypass governance rules because, they're working on something innovative. And finally, the overarching pitfall, thinking data is simply IT's responsibility. Real governance requires a profound organizational change, not just a software purchase or a single new hire. Which brings us nicely to Section 4, defeating organizational resistance. This is all about managing staff pushback. Look,
Data governance brings formality, it brings discipline, and that means change. Organizational change management, or OCM, is the formal process of managing that exact change. Because here's the truth. People naturally resist new data rules. They really do. And they aren't trying to be difficult. They're simply afraid. They're afraid it's going to be too hard, or they fear losing their competence, their control, or even their political influence in this new system. As an executive, you have to expect this resistance and manage it formally.
So how do we actually overcome this? Here are some highly tactical strategies. If you're asking someone to step up and take on a data steward role, offer them role backfill so they don't just feel completely overwhelmed. If you want your managers to genuinely care about data quality, work with HR to tie those data quality metrics directly to their compensation. Money talks, right? Also, you've got to learn to spot the warning signs. For example, if you're in an implementation meeting and everyone is just completely uncomfortably quiet, yeah, that is a massive sign of passive resistance brewing. And finally, when someone suddenly becomes a data philosopher, raising endless theoretical objections, address those directly for what they are: resistance to change.
And now, our final section. Section 5, a phased approach to success. So the crucial point here is that leaders absolutely must follow a phased approach to make these new capabilities operational. It's not a one-and-done project. You move from a roadmap into a sustaining plan and finally into continuous metrics. And trust me, if you don't build the metrics to prove the effectiveness of the program, it will slowly just fade away into the background. You have to monitor your success continuously. To really give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, here's what a real, phased roadmap looks like in practice. Notice how governance activities are tied directly to specific business projects, like Project Customer. You don't just stand up and announce data governance to the entire company all at once and wait for something magical to happen. That's a recipe for disaster. Instead, you tie the governance work strictly to the business projects that actually need it, rolling it out incrementally to ensure you're proving value every step of the way. I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you going to leave your most valuable corporate asset completely unmanaged? Or will you step up and lead the shift to real data-driven growth? This multi-trillion-dollar mess we see in corporate data today, it exists entirely because leadership hasn't taken the wheel. So, the opportunity is yours. You can be the first in your sector to get data governance right and create a massive competitive advantage. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you leave here today ready to take charge of your data.